Ladies and gentlemen, a close personal friend of our next honoree and fellow activist for social causes, welcome actor David Clennon.
Is that the theme music from some show that I was in? I don't recognize it. Thank you. Ed Asner is being honored tonight, and he should be honored, not only for his fictional characterizations, but also for his real-life battles in the cause of justice in America and around the world. Now, Ed describes himself as a pisher from Kansas City, but a lot of us see Ed as a fighter, a guy who has the guts to take on some mean and very powerful opponents. And some of these Goliaths have pummeled our little David pretty badly. But one of the pleasures of this evening is seeing that Ed Asner has survived, and more than that, he's having a second round of glory days. All through the 1980s and into the 90s, Ed spoke out against U.S. government activities in Central America. In 1982, in a gesture of solidarity with the victims of a brutal military government in El Salvador, Ed publicly presented a donation from American contributors to a medical relief agency that worked with Salvadoran popular organizations, including the armed opposition, the National Liberation Front. The mainstream media distorted the meaning of Ed's actions, in my opinion, and he was barraged with unfair criticism. And just at this time, Ed was enjoying the success of the Lou Grant Show. And one of the sponsors was a U.S. corporation, which had a couple of factories in El Salvador. And they didn't locate there because of the special qualities of the mountain spring water. So, in the middle of this controversy over Ed's actions, the corporation terminated its sponsorship of the Lou Grant Show. Another sponsor quickly followed suit, and the network promptly caved in and canceled the show. And the damage to Ed's career was serious, and it lasted for some time, showing that you don't need an official printed blacklist to hurt someone whose politics you don't like. But Ed didn't back down. He was wounded, but he refused to surrender. In 1989, the same Salvadoran military murdered 6 Catholic priests, and protesters across America took to the street to tell their government to stop arming these killers. In Los Angeles, Ed took part in civil disobedience actions at the Federal Building, along with priests, nuns, rabbis, ministers, and lay people. He sat down in front of the doors to the building, and he waited. And there was noise and confusion and pushing and shoving, and he waited calmly to be arrested and handcuffed and frisked and booked by the federal police. On a couple of occasions, I was arrested with him. I don't know why. I guess I was just in the right place at the right time. But I can tell you, when you go up against the LAPD, the federal authorities, and the censure of the media, it's very reassuring to be in the company of a big, lovable, pacifist linebacker like Ed Asner. And Ed hasn't been afraid to wade into the struggles much closer to home. When a successful television producer chose to do a new series with a non-union crew, Ed was in the street protesting in front of the studio. He's a union man to the core, and he acts on his belief that the grips and the carpenters and all of the craftspeople who labor behind the cameras have the inalienable right to organize and win a fair share of the wealth we all produce in this business of entertainment. So, Ed Asner has been a soldier in the fight for simple justice, for a simple idea of fairness for everybody, especially for the poor and the powerless. For me, Ed embodies the courage and the dash of Shakespeare's Harry Hotspur from Henry IV, along with the generosity and the wit and the zest for life of Sir John Falstaff. And I salute you, my knight in battered armor. Okay. So much for the public part of Ed Asner. Now let's take a look at some of his private